Yes, I am. Obviously, as we all know, King and Queen of the Ring is in about 2-ish weeks. It's not too far away now. And the question I ask, as we sort of do with most of these pay per views, who's the greatest X ever in this situation? Who's the greatest King of the Ring ever? We won't say Queen of the Ring because they've had like what one or two of them. Like Zelina Vega won it, didn't she? And like
Yeah, yeah.
that's whatever. King of the Ring has about 30 plus years of history for the most part. So I'll ask you, pal, who's the greatest King of the Ring ever?
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's Steve Austin.
No, really?
Really?
Oh no, I wouldn't have
Wow.
thought that, pal.
Yeah.
It's in the title and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Steve Austin. I mean, come on. The Austin 316 promo. That's one of the most iconic promos in the history of pro wrestling. It made Steve Austin a star, this whole King of the Ring run. Um, and it's we're gonna get to it about like how it happened and all that. We'll get to that in a moment. But there was, like Brock Lesnar's another name that comes to mind, too. He was pretty cool. William Regal, Booker T. Booker T especially is up there. His run as King Booker. Billy Gunn, pal. Billy Gunn's run as King of the Ring when The Rock came out and insulted him for 10 minutes and ended his career. So that's notable for other reasons, not really Billy Gunn's success afterwards as a single superstar. But yeah, Steve Austin, I think, is the blueprint that every wrestler that wins the King of the Ring tries to follow. And very few, probably Brock Lesnar is the only one that followed in that blueprint, honestly. Triple H was like Hunter Hearst Helmsley when he won, and he became Triple H later on, so that doesn't even count. Yeah, I gotta say Stone Cold, pal. I know you agree.
Well, yeah, and I'll just double down with a different sort of point. The thing we've seen with the last 35 years of wrestling when it comes to King of the Ring is all the King of the Rings who succeed are never the ones who take on the King gimmick, really, in the long term. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin won King of the Ring in 1996, stormed up to the lectern, like the altar thing, and basically, everyone knows the promo almost word for word. So I'm not going to repeat it, but he basically says the King, like the seven, that will get stuffed. I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, Austin 316. I've arrived essentially. And Brock Lesnar did the same. Brock Lesnar won King of the Ring. I was like, oh my god, the next big thing's here. Like he's arrived, and he didn't put on the scepter. He wasn't wearing the little robe. Like he wasn't walking around. We didn't have Brock Lesnar marching into SummerSlam versus The Rock Power with his little King scepter. Like none of that happened. King Booker was probably the best like King gimmick. Like
Yeah,
Booker actually did a
or
legitimately
Macho
good
Man.
job. Queen Charmel, Booker T with as the King. That was like the best one by far. Like that legitimately was like good. Booker did that really well. So shout out Booker T. Legitimately good. But the stuff from my sort of era of watching, King Sheamus, Wade Barrett when he was, I think Wade Barrett was the King in like 2015.
Yeah,
They had who won in 2019? Baron Corbin. So he had
yeah,
King Corbin with the Royal Scepter beating up Roman Reigns with dog food, stuff like that. I remember Xavier Woods running that one that had that goofy big crown. But the only thing that actually happened was Roman Reigns and the Bloodline stomped on the crown, then Roman wore it. And he was like into the camera. That's the last like 12 years of King of the Ring. So yeah, just to double down on your point, Austin's the greatest ever with King of the Ring by far. And why that is, he was the real first one to go, I don't need this crappy prop scepter or this stupid throne. I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm the guy. I'm him. Everyone follow me, watch me. I'm the guy. So yeah, that's what made Austin such a great King of the Ring, I thought.
yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned it in passing while you were talking, but we got to talk about Macho Man too. I almost forgot when I was mentioning
Yes, 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 yes.
great King of the Ring, and Harley Race too. I believe Harley Race was the original, and Harley Race, he wore the crown and the cape and all that. He did it pretty well, I thought, as well. He was good, but Macho Man was great, man, with Queen Sherry, and he came out with like being carried on the throne, pal, having people carry him. Like I mean, it was really good, and anything Macho Man did turned to gold. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention him, and we'd have somebody that's like 45 years old is like, hey, Macho Man, hey,
Yeah.
hey, don't forget him.
Now I'll revise that. Since Stone Cold won it, so 1996, the last 28 years, the only time a King gimmick has probably been done well is Booker T. Like King Regal, meh, like all this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, Booker T nailed it. Everyone else, bam, it's been not so good. But yeah, Austin, the goat of King of the Ring power, which leads us to our conversation today as far as the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin, because it seems like a fitting topic. King of the Ring is synonymous with, I guess, the breakout or like the coronation, quite literally, of a star. That's what King of the Ring is about. That's why it's there. Stone Cold in this case is our one today. So I guess I'll ask you, pal, why was King of the Ring so important for Stone Cold specifically?
Well, it was a lot of the things that you touched on. Stone Cold was the first guy to kind of go, I don't need this crown. I don't need this scepter. And by him doing that and having that approach, it helped like shove in a new era, a new identity for what pro wrestling was, and more specifically what WWE was, because the NWO kind of kicked the identity of pro wrestling, like just kicked it all upside down with their realistic approach. Give WCW its credit, live TV, all that stuff. Um, the way Austin handled that was kind of like, all right, we're done. We're done with this like new generation era with dentists and garbage men and repo men and NFL players and hockey players and all these cheesy gimmicks. I'm Stone Cold. I wear black trunks. I'm bald. I talk a lot of crap. I look like the random guy next door. Drink beer. Like it was just more bringing in a reality era of sorts, and that was what was really the importance of it. Like after that, King of the Ring just became like a name, really like a name of a pay per view. The King of the Ring never really had the same aura or like gimmick after. I mean, Booker T kind of brought it back, but that's like a one off thing. Like Sheamus running around in 2012 with a scepter, bro kicking like Muppets. I mean, whatever. Like I don't even know what year he was King Sheamus. I don't remember, but he would come out with a stupid crown.
Yeah, for the one commenter, yeah, okay, Sheamus won in whatever 2010. It doesn't matter. You get the point. Like,
yeah, who cares? Yeah. So there's that. And it really gave him a platform, showcase what he could do, and he cut Jake the Snake Roberts to shreds, like on the mic. I mean, yeah, like I said, greatest promo ever. And it was so significant for WWE. Without that, I don't know, man. Without that King of the Ring magical run, I don't know. We're probably watching Terry Jean Balea, pal, on TNT, on WCW Nitro, pal. Watching Terry Jean Balea and Eric Bischoff orchestrate programs, pal, on television. So, go ahead, you're up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, and on King of the Ring. I mean, King of the Ring is the one we talk about today, but in WWE specifically, there are really three off the top of my head concepts that are used to take a mid card or upper mid card guy or guy with potential, guy with talent, and get them to the next level of stardom, the next level of draw, next level of attraction. King of the Ring is obviously the one we're talking about today. Royal Rumble came in '88, like that was like the big one. And then Money in the Bank has been like 15 years as well, or 20 years with Money in the Bank. King of the Ring is a bit different to the other two. The other two have specifically been for like literally over 20 years. In Royal Rumble's case, only 40 years, but Money in the Bank, 20 years. Like a yearly thing. Okay, every year, this match will happen. This wrestler will have this to then cash in. It's its own beast. We'll get to that in the next few months. King of the Ring is odd because it's how it gets interpreted. It's how each wrestler takes the title of King of the Ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin, like we touched on, wins King of the Ring, rips apart Jake the Snake Roberts, goes, nah, I'm sick of the gimmicks. We're not about that. This isn't 1993. This is a new time. I'm the guy here. I drink beer. I'm just a dude who beats people up. Follow me. Like that was Austin. It wasn't the days gone by with the King gimmicks, which yes, Harley Race, yes, Randy Savage. Some people did well, but it was very different. And yeah, the King of the Ring, why it was so important to Steve Austin, it really made him. It was one of the defining moments of the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'll mention a couple of the WWE ones, but in a moment you can discuss everything else before that. WWE, I look at Austin, you've got this, which really catapulted him really exponentially. The first time he stunned Vince McMahon in MSG was like another big one. That was like a big defining moment. Him winning the title at 14 was like the big one, as well as the Bret Hart match, 13, and winning the Royal Rumbles. And there's like about 5 or 6 moments that really made Stone Cold in the WWF, like as the star we knew, who would become the Michael Jordan of wrestling, pal. But now I'll ask you, pal. That's the WWE stuff, but there's a lot more to Stone Cold and the rise. So talk to us. Like, was there a specific moment or a specific thing that you want to discuss with Austin?
But the rise, like his rise?
Yeah, the rise of Stone Cold, pal.
Okay.
Rise,
Okay, so you're talking about from the stuff prior to WWE. You want to
Mm,
get into
yeah.
that stuff, pal?
Yeah, the dirty stuff, pal.
Oh,
Uncover it for
yes,
us.
yes. Okay, so Stone Cold kind of got into pro wrestling later on in his life. I think he was like 25 when he started. Which is like,
Yeah.
I mean, 25 in what 90 whatever he was like 1990 91 like 25 now. I mean, those 25-year-olds like wrestling for $50 at a
Mm,
like an outlaw show on WrestleMania weekend in Philly. So yeah, Steve Austin, he starts off and he became like, people were like, yo, this guy is a star.
yeah.
Like that was kind of the overall like aura on him. Like, oh, this guy is going to be a top guy. He's got the look, he's got the feel, all this and that.
Mm,
Goes to WCW and he's about to get a push. Dusty Rhodes like, hey pal, you're gonna be a TV champion or whatever, US champion. And then like the day of the pay per view, Eric Bischoff was like, hey, you're gonna be in a tag team, or whoever it was. Ole Anderson, I don't think it was Eric Bischoff, but Ole Anderson was like, hey, you're gonna be in a tag team with Brian Pillman now. Sorry, bro. And they ended up like becoming the Hollywood Blondes, him and Pillman, having this awesome like tag team, just unbelievable tag team that people still talk about to this day.
yeah.
And um but then it gets that is, it's real pivotal, pal. So Steve Austin, Pillman, they get over. And then it's pretty much like, yeah, Hulk Hogan's here now. Sting is our guy, Hogan's our guy, Flair is our guy. We're gonna rock with Roddy Piper. We're gonna bring him over from WWE. We're gonna bring in Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Kevin Nash. We loved him. Scott Hall. So yeah, sorry, Steve. No real room for you in the main event scene. We don't really need you. And yeah, so one of, if not the most significant moment in wrestling history occurs when Eric Bischoff is like, I gotta make some budget cuts. Okay. Gotta make some budget cuts. I gotta pay Terry Bollea his, personal chef, his limo driver. I gotta pay for him to be on movie sets for 3 months out of the year. I gotta pay for all these venues I'm running, live TV. I gotta pay for Sting's salary. I gotta pay Ric Flair for hookers and all that stuff and all the trouble he gets into. Can't afford to pay Steve Austin 150 grand. I can't afford to pay this guy. He's injured. I'm gonna fire him. I'm gonna fire him by FedEx, bro. Let's send him a FedEx. So Steve Austin sitting there from injury, recovering. His wife's making him some tea, pal, and she's like, "Hey, you got a FedEx, bro? Came from WCW. Here, check this out." He opens it and reads his termination with WCW. And that moment right there, that's a moment that could either make or break somebody, right? Let's say you, Jimmy, you're working very hard at your job, right? You're making $150,000 a year, pal. You're grinding.
Mm,
Got a lovely British wife at home, pal. And one day she's like, here's a FedEx, bro. Came for your job. Here, check it out. Maybe it's a raise. Oh, maybe maybe it's your health insurance information. No, you got fired. Oh, by FedEx, pal. So, like, you could take that one of two ways. You can look at this like, damn, man, I'm injured, got fired. Oof, I'm gonna turn to alcohol. I'm gonna turn to drugs. I'm gonna go get a job at Target. I'm gonna go manage a Target, pal. My life's over, Like, that was my shot. Or you can do what Steve Austin did and come back from your injury, go to ECW, make a name for yourself, get noticed by WWE, and then get signed to WWE. That's exactly what he did. And yeah, I mean, it's really, what's the word for it?
remarkable.
Remarkable. Yeah, that's a good word. It's really a remarkable thing. He goes to ECW and he's doing the parodies of Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and he's really showing that he could be a character, and he could be an entertaining guy. And then, then he goes to WWE and they're like, oh, you're going to be the ringmaster, bro. Yeah, we saw those funny skits you did in WCW and ECW, whatever. Who cares? You're gonna be a mid-card hand, pal. You're gonna be like the next Ted DiBiase, the next Mr. Perfect. You're gonna wrestle good matches for 10 years, make 200 grand a year. You're gonna be the ringmaster. You're gonna walk around with the $1 million belt in 1996 like it means anything. With Ted DiBiase by your side, you're gonna adopt his moves. And he's like, man, I did all this. Now I'm here. Like, what is this, bro? Like, no, every company like just got me down bad.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this before you go. Eric Bischoff firing Steve Austin by FedEx is the only reason why WWE became a publicly traded company, pal. And it's the reason why WWE is running global shows in Saudi Arabia now. Because if Eric Bischoff did not fire Steve Austin by FedEx, I mean, there'd be no Attitude Era. You know, there's a world where there's no Attitude Era. There's no Austin Vince. You know, Eric Bischoff sealed his fate and ended the Monday Night Wars the moment he fired Steve Austin.
He quite literally sealed it with the FedEx. He sealed his fate with the FedEx, sent it to Stone Cold, and the rest is history. That is wow. What a moment, and you're bang on.
That is a butterfly effect, pal. Good.
Correct. Unlike the Roman Reigns day one thing, that's not a butterfly effect. This is, pal. This is the butterfly effect that changed how wrestling went. And I guess I'm not going to rehash anything you just said there. That was fantastic. I'm going to transition to the next question, which I'll ask myself, then I'll answer my own question. The question being, did Stone Cold have the most unlikely rise to the top of any all-time great? And by all-time great, we mean like your objective, your top 10. So your Hulk Hogan, your Ric Flair,
Cena, Triple H,
Cena, Undertaker, etc. And yeah, like Cena, for instance, yeah, he worked at the gym, pal, and he wanted to be a bodybuilder, but he failed and got into wrestling and became the top star. Or Triple H was bodybuilder, and then he has his own thing. He got into wrestling and was Hurst Helmsley, and then he was the top guy and whatever. Hulk Hogan came in and was like right away, oh, it's another superstar, Billy Graham. He's like a movie star guy. Oh, look, he's the face of WWF, pal. Yeah, like Hogan, like, not much adversity, especially compared to this. Stone Cold's rise, as you touch on, that's adversity out the wazoo, pal. That's just, you're in one company, you're almost promised, or you've got the visions and visions of grandeur in WCW that Austin had going, well, these are the guys who WCW are pushing. I'm better than those guys. They're all 20 years older than me. I'm effing Stone Cold. Like, I'm Steve Austin. Like I'm that talented. I'm that good at what I do. I'm that guy. I'm going to be the next star of this company. And then you get a FedEx, and you're out of there. And all of a sudden you're working for good old Paul Lee, pal, in ECW in front of like bingo halls, and you're doing you're going off record, and you're doing these great promos and all this stuff, which people like Jim Ross or like diehard, like people who really cared about wrestling or involved in wrestling, WF particularly, were like, this guy is special. This guy is wow. We need him. And so then it goes to the WF, and well, yeah, the ringmaster came first. Bit how you going, a bit how you're doing that, but it all worked out in the end. And what happened, and the fate of WCW was sealed in that FedEx, pal. That was their company, as well as another like 45 stupid things they did in the next few years. So yeah, pal. So I'll ask you, compared to the other top stars in wrestling history, is Stone Cold's rise the most unlikely?
Yeah, I think if you look at it like a top 10 to 15, yeah. Top 10, top 20 guys, I think so. You look at Randy Orton, just to throw another guy's name out there. He's a third generation guy. Green, and it didn't work out, and his dad was like, "Hey, go wrestle, pal." Same with The Rock. Dad helped get his foot in the door. Like John Cena is probably the other one, honestly, that comes to mind. Like literally, like sleeping in a car in California for like 6 months, getting free pizza because he would just go in and eat a whole pie and do a challenge at a pizza restaurant. And the fact that he would have been fired, like if he didn't do that rap in front of Stephanie McMahon on a bus, like he's up there. But Steve Austin, and the other part of this too. But
I was just gonna say, and before you go on, it really makes you think. Like, to me at least, wrestling. There are that many wrestlers all over the world who no one knows about. Wrestlers who are genuinely so good. They are either so charismatic, they're entertaining, but they just never get the break in their career. They never make it. Like Roman Reigns gets the break, because obviously family connections. Cody Rhodes, Dusty's son. So like they have their breaks that way. Cody obviously faced the adversity, and it took a long road, as we all know. But these guys get their breaks. Other guys who are wrestling in, let's say, like for you listening to this at home, the town near you, there's going to be an independent wrestling show, independent wrestling promotion. It's training, a wrestling school, maybe an hour away from you, maybe 10 minutes down the road. Maybe you have to drive 3 hours to the nearest wrestling training. There's probably someone there who's legitimately capable of being in WWE and is legitimately like a star, like capable guy. They just never get that break. So Austin got a break, and in a very unlikely, you know, remarkable way. Some guys got it easy. Some guys, Randy Orton, oh, hey dad, you wrestled. Oh, look, I'm 20 sitting at home, not really doing anything. Can I get a job as a wrestler? Hey, go for it. Have a go. Come on. Like for some, it's easy. For others, it's a remarkable journey. So I just think it's worth flagging that before you go on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it just gets even more unlikely and more coincidental and just more by chance. Because, in 1996, the King of the Ring was originally supposed to go to Triple H. And Triple H lost that because of the curtain call. The curtain call happens, and they break kayfabe. The heels and baby faces are hugging pal. Somebody records it on camcorder, publishes it on the internet, and oh my god, wrestling is fake. Oh my god, the cat's out the bag. It was killer, and Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, they're leaving the WWE. Can't punish them. Shawn Michaels is your champion. What are you gonna do? You're gonna punish Shawn Michaels? Triple H, you're the guy, pal. You lost your King of the Ring. You're gonna be thrown in mud. You're gonna be just buried for a year. Then you'll get King of the Ring next year if you handle it well. And I mean that's it. Like the curtain call doesn't happen. There's no Stone Cold winning the King of the Ring in '96. Who knows if Stone Cold breaks out? Who knows?
Yeah.
So they're like a week before the show or whatever. Vince like, hey pal, Stone Cold, you got this. You're gonna be King of the Ring. And that's the other thing about this. Like, if Vince McMahon had his hands and fingerprints all over Stone Cold and tried to craft him into the star that he wanted him to be, by like if it was planned out for him to win King of the Ring, does it turn out the way that it does? Does he go improv and cut the Austin 316 promo with Vince's fingerprints all over him, like making tweaks and stuff? Or it was just like, hey, whatever, Triple H is supposed to win this. Do whatever you want. Just don't say anything crazy. And Stone Cold takes an opportunity and runs with it. An opportunity that was not there prior. So it's amazing. And then after the King of the Ring, Bret Hart really helped him a lot. Stone Cold has said this in several interviews. Stone Cold said Bret Hart made him into the guy that he was. Without Bret Hart, there would be no Stone Cold. His words. They have a great rivalry from 96 into 97 at WrestleMania 13. It culminates. And I mean, it just, the guy was not supposed to be where he was. And you can't really say that about anybody else that's like on the Mount Rushmore in the top 10, top 20 conversation. Hulk Hogan, like you said, he was supposed to be there. Andre the Giant, I mean, he was supposed to be where he was all time. Macho Man, his dad was in the business. Triple H was supposed to be there, He had all the look and the tools, and he was charismatic as hell. Steve Austin, he didn't look like what a wrestler is supposed to look like when he broke in. He bald head, beard, black trunks. Like that's not what a superstar wrestler looked like in the 80s and the early 90s. In the 70s. Like they looked like Hulk Hogan. They looked like Macho Man, like Ultimate Warrior. Go ahead.
And to build on that, you compare the two. Let's compare the pair for the listeners.
Right.
You've got one is organic. So that's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, bald, black trunks, nothing flashy. He's authentic. He's genuine. He's organic. That's Stone Cold. Look at the popularity and success and the way it was achieved and how astronomical it turned out to be. Compare that to Ultimate Warrior, who it was very manufactured. It was very put on. It was fairly forced, generally speaking. There was a time in 1990 where some more fans got on board, genuinely, but generally speaking. But by and large, it was very like, okay, the company's saying, we're doing this. This is our guy. This is our guy. This is our guy. Love him, love him, love him. And look where they turn out. One's, many people say, is the greatest of all time. And others, well, personal stuff aside with Ultimate Warrior, but from the on-screen point of view, the other one, Ultimate Warrior, is like, Ultimate Warrior, great all time, but just didn't hit the same. And so that really leads me to the point I'll make here before I go back to you. When we look at wrestling, and most things generally, but wrestling specifically, the best things are often organic. Look at Roman Reigns, just to get this back to Roman is the prime example, as a modern day example. 2015 to 2018, nothing about that was organic. That was as forced as it gets. That was unnatural. Everyone could see it. You could, pal, I could. Everyone listening to this who was watching is like, bro, this isn't it. This is not organic. This isn't a guy being themselves. And then you get to 2020 through 2024, and it's organic. It's him just being himself, turned up a few notches, and everyone loved it. And it's gone down all times on the great things we've seen in the past 25 years. So you look at that now with Austin, he was organic, and that's what clicked. And King of the Ring really turned up the volume on that. King of the Ring, 1996, and everything encompassed it was the dial that took Austin from a, let's say out of 10 as far as the company's standings. Oh, Stone Cold, yeah, he was the ringmaster, or Steve Austin guy, the ringmaster. Cool, he's like a 2 or 3, whatever. He's not really there. All of a sudden, his dial goes from 2 or 3 up to like a 7 or an 8. Okay, this guy Austin 316, this promo, this presentation. Okay, he's a somebody. And then Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon, everything turned that up to an 11, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's it, pal. Yeah, it's really one of like, what's the word? But it's chance, bro. Like, and then he ends up becoming the biggest draw that we've ever seen. I mean, nobody's outdrawn him to this day. Nobody's sold more T-shirts than him. Nobody's brought in bigger ratings. Nobody's brought in bigger pay-per-view buys on a consistent basis. The guy's just the most commercial prime wrestler that we've ever seen during his run. And it's crazy that none of it was supposed to happen. None of it. None of it at all was supposed to happen. And even with like John Cena, once Vince got his hands and fingerprints all over Cena, saw what happened. The crowd turned on him. And of course Cena's going to go with it. Cena is going to want to make money and but man, it's really, I don't know, man. It's remarkable. Yeah, that's the word. It's pro wrestling, pal. It's just Eric Bischoff fires him by FedEx. Oh, here's the curtain call. Triple H gets punished. No King of the Ring. And they're like, Vince probably like, oh, this mid-card guy, what's he going to do? And then he cuts this Austin 316 promo, and boom, the most iconic catchphrase, most iconic T-shirt, most iconic, whatever you want to call it, most iconic entrance. Like, it's one of the most iconic, like, in pop culture, bro. Like, if you walk into a mall, I don't know what it is like in Australia, but I can walk into a mall near me and just go to any clothing store, like PacSun. Do they have PacSun in Australia? You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a culture clothing store. And they sell, no, not really culture, but it's just a clothing store that sells like cool T-shirts and pants and like modern stuff. You walk in there, you'll see like an Allen Iverson T-shirt. You see Michael Irvin. You'll see like Yankees and Mets, and then right next to it is Steve Austin. There's a ton, like downtown where I live. Like you go downtown and they have these like hipsters like clothing stores. You see like Los Angeles Dodgers stuff, like NWA, Compton, and right next to it is Steve Austin. Even like just in pop culture, Steve Austin is there in that conversation with where he's up there with like, he's past wrestling with culture, with T-shirts, with merchandise. He's at a level that Hulk Hogan and Cena aren't, and even The Rock isn't. In a lot of respects, like you go into like a what's it called, like a knickknack store, I can't think of the word, but like a retro like toy store, you'll see Steve Austin action figures right next to like the anime stuff. Like he's bigger than wrestling in a lot of ways, and is bigger than a lot of other wrestlers that in ways that we can't really explain. Like, yeah, more people know The Rock, more people follow The Rock on Instagram, but The Rock's T-shirt is not sitting next to Ice Cube's shirt at a hipster store, like Steve Austin's is.
Well, when I was at the Elimination Chamber in Perth, and they had their, I guess, Perth like exclusive range for like the show, the main show they were selling was Perth 316.
Right.
28 years after the King of the Ring, and that's gonna be the case for the next 50 years. When they're in Belfast for a big pay-per-view in 30 years' time, it'll be Belfast 316, or when they're in Arizona for the whatever SummerSlam in 3 years, or whatever. Arizona 316, like that'll be the case the rest of the time. And that's like the impact that Stone Cold left. Like I was like, wow, that's a cool shirt. And like Perth 316 compared to the LA Knight, Perth, let me talk to you, or anything like that. I'm like, I want to buy Perth 316. Like that's the merch, and that echoed around the world. That he was in pop culture, or is still Stone Cold in pop culture, which is unbelievable. So this isn't like a full Austin bio. We're gonna do probably one of them in some way, shape, or form more long form. But yeah, the rise of Stone Cold and what he became and how he impacted wrestling and pop culture as a whole is unbelievable. It really is. And look, where he ranks all time, we'll discuss that in our future bio, but he's either number one or number two, pretty much objectively, in wrestling ever, which is unbelievable because of what he did for wrestling and pop culture and society. So there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess the final question is, so how exactly does Stone Cold usher in the Attitude Era?
Mm. Well, we sort of allude to it, but like he was at the times. He was the like the feeling, like he was a symbol, he was an embodiment of what the energy was like in pop culture and society generally. It was a whole thing of okay, not everything has to be cartoon. Not everything needs to be cliche. Like with it's the late 90s, times have changed, times are changing. People just want authenticity. People want to keep it real. People want to keep it 100, pal. You know, and Austin was that. Just like the dude next door, the tough guy, the bald one. He's just going to beat up his boss, wear black trunks, no BS, he'll drink beer. And that's how he, like, that galvanized the whole generation. That made WWF the most watched thing, as well as yes, obviously a great supporting cast, as is the case with Michael Jordan on the Chicago Bulls. I guess he was like the face of it. He was the leader. There are a lot of great supporting pieces, or any great teams, or great runs, or anything. There's usually supporting like pieces there, but Austin was the leader, the star of that because he was the most compelling. People wanted to see what he had to do. He brought in the attitude because people were like, this guy has it. This is something I want to see. This I want to watch Raw on a Monday. What's he going to do? What's happening with Vince McMahon? What's happening in this storyline with the corporation? What's this feud with like Bret Hart and his Canadian friends, his Canadian family? What's going on here? Is he stunned Vince McMahon? Well, oh my god! Well, and then the next day at work, hey, did you see what? See, you watched Raw last night? Austin beat up Pat Patterson, Briscoe, and Vince, and he poured beer on him. Like, there you go. Like you should watch Raw as well. This is actually good. And then, oh my god, this really is. Got to tell this person. I'll tell this person. And you bring in a movement of people watching wrestling because everyone's like, hey, yo, this guy's genuinely cool. Like, I want to have a beer with him. He's great. And that's how Austin brought in an era. And it's unbelievable. Anything else on like to build on that, pal? Like,
Well, just
yeah.
from like I guess like an analytic point of view, for lack of a better way to say it, what he did like specifically to usher in the Attitude Era was like to help usher in the Attitude Era was coming out being authentic. He did it. It didn't look like he was like rehearsing an act, and it was bad acting, or it just looked like he was being his genuine self. Um, and like the music, just everything about him just was brash and in your face. And I know a lot of people will sit here and say like, "Oh, Bret Hart kind of should get some credit here too," so I got to give him his flowers. Bret Hart was the first guy to interact with Vince and acknowledge Vince as the owner of the company. When they were doing that whole storyline where Bret was like, "Hey, get off commentary, bro. I know you're the owner. I know you make the decisions. Give me a title shot." And he's like cursing at him, smacking him around. So Bret Hart did it first. Austin just got the opportunity to do it better and more commercially.
Yeah.
And then it was the perfect storm of having Mike Tyson involved in WrestleMania 14. Mike Tyson's coming in after like jail time and allegations and all this crazy stuff, biting people's ears off. Like he was the most famous athlete in the world at that time, standing there next to Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was no other wrestler, maybe ever, that you could have put. You could even take like 2011 John Cena and put him next to Mike Tyson in 1998. There's no one ever that could have gotten Mike Tyson's face and said, "Hey, fight me, bitch."
Maybe Brock in his prime.
Maybe, yeah,
Maybe. But then, like even
maybe.
then, like that's like Brock's a once in a lifetime
It
it's
wouldn't
like
hit
this
the
is like
same though.
yeah, true.
It wouldn't
True.
hit the same. It would be like Brock. It was not quite as commercial. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah. Like
Yeah,
with Austin, the way Austin did it, it was so like, yeah, like it was so it's something about who he was, his personality. It was believable. It
yeah,
wasn't Braun Strowman and Tyson Fury.
right,
All that
right.
rubbish. Where like you're watching and going, this is a joke. Like, why is this like wrestler clown
Yeah,
in there with a boxer? What is this? Like, it's not like that. Or any other time WWE tried stuff similar in previous times. But yeah, Carry on.
Yeah, and it was like Austin saying like, "Hey, look, wrestling might be fake, whatever, it might be predetermined, but you're in my ring right now. Like, I'll break your neck. You come in my ring. I'm a tough guy." And nobody really, I mean, Brock Lesnar, yeah, he's the other one, like really the only other guy that has that aura where it's like, oh, this
Mm,
guy could actually mess me up. And it's a whole different level with Brock because he's like an MMA certified and
mm.
this, amateur wrestler. It's a whole different level of credibility.
Yeah,
But
and
Brock
and this is
Lesnar,
as far as, like, legitimate, like, main event, top 10, 12 all-time guys. Not yes, maybe Ken Shamrock in the ring with Mike Tyson. Yeah, once again, 'cause he's, like, got a fighting background, whatever. But these are the top stars of wrestling who could get away with it. Because like, if you whack Hulk Hogan in the ring with Mike Tyson, it's like, okay, well, Hogan's like this big politician who does his leg drop and politics his way to world championships. Like, great for him, but, like, the
yeah,
Tyson will bash him.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly. And like if you have Brock Lesnar in his prime in 1998, standing next to Tyson, delivering the same lines that Austin said like it wouldn't hit the same. Brock's not that
mm,
good in the mic, whatever. But yeah, then you bring up Hogan, like NWO Hogan, Hollywood Hogan in 1998. You've got Austin telling Mike Tyson like, "Hey, wrestling's fake, but I'll kill you, bro. Try to step to me." And on the other side, you got Hulk Hogan selling arm bars for Jay Leno. So tale of two
now
companies.
Hogan feuding with like Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman in 1998, pal. Like what?
Yeah. So I mean, that's where we are. The Attitude Era wouldn't be what it is without Austin. I mean, there may not be an Attitude Era. There was no Austin. If Eric Bischoff just hadn't fired Austin, no, who knows what would happen? Who knows with wrestling where it goes? So the man is responsible for the biggest, most successful era that WWE still lives off. Well, not anymore, but WWE did live off of for the 2010s and the very early 2020s. They pretty much lived off that. Like whenever they needed to like sell T-shirts, they'd be like, "Oh, here, Steve Austin shirts, pal. Rock shirts. Oh, Rock is back. Catchphrases. Oh." And every documentary, it seems like, oh, the Attitude Era, greatest era of all time. It's like,
Yeah.
man, can we focus on now? Like, what about now? No, I get it. Steve Austin was great, but like, what about now?
Yeah. Honestly, from like WWE still lives off that time period to some extent. They're now finally in an era where fresh stuff's happening and they're actually moving in the direction of positive by and large. So it's not as much like it, but there genuinely was 20 years where WWE perhaps solely lived off the Attitude Era. And Cena came along and carried the torch for 15 years, and then they tried Roman, but they lived off the Attitude Era. That's just what it was. Like they
Right.
needed Legends nights to save ratings
Yeah,
for
literally.
20 years. Like I remember the first Raw of 2021, January 4th, 2021. What are they opening the 2020s with or 2021 with? Legends Night, Monday Night Raw, guys. Look at the Attitude Era stars, guys. Look at them. Look at them, guys. Or how about we build Drew McIntyre's WWE title match? Nope, forget it. Legends Night. Okay,
Yeah, we're
great.
gonna have Austin
So,
stun Vince for the 100th time. Yeah. I mean, it got to the point where like you remember those old school episodes of Raw? Remember, like they would do like, oh, legend, yeah, like legends, like you said, and then they would do like WWE old school pal, and they'd have the old logo, and
Maybe Jerry Lawler from the Manhattan Center bringing us like Raw. You got the Miz coming out there with the tag titles. Like he's cutting a diss on Curtis Axel. Like what is this? Like
yeah, they couldn't WWE couldn't do an Attitude Era episode of Raw because everybody'd be like, oh, this is way better than what we get now. You got Godfather out there with hose. You got whoever taking their shirt off, and
yeah,
you know
imagine they did that nowadays with the talent they have. Like Damian Priest comes out there like
with
with
hose.
six women, and you got like they show some like CCTV camera footage of Dom Mysterio and Liv Morgan in the locker room or something, and they have a segment where Cody Rhodes is like literally like as Raw ended in March with The Rock like bashing up Cody. Cody's bleeding for real in the rain, and yeah, they're doing all like. Can you imagine they did that? Like Nick Aldis like shoot injures the wrestler because he gets annoyed because they don't question his authority. Like, can you
Oh,
imagine? That would be great.
I love it, pal. I love it. Oh, all right, pal.
Uh,
Well, you ready to get out of here?